So on this episode, we're going to discuss property insurance and strata management. I love the holidays.
Happy Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy festive season.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Welcome to November's MyRealTalk with
your real estate expert, Kiara McLaughlin.
And Roger Southam. The Real Estate Gangsters, I like that. That's a good title. That's even better. So with the management side, it's more about what isn't there, or what should be there, or what's not quite right to be able to piece something together. So having that understanding and that knowledge, when we are managing a property, we always have one eye over the shoulder of how would someone view this if they were looking from the outside, and how would it appear, or how would we explain? So whatever we're doing, we're always going to be open and upfront. We'll always work on a transparent basis, because it's the strata owners' money that we're spending, and they have to know where that's going, and they have to know it's being spent properly, and then have to know that it's being set up correctly, because the game plan for a strata, if we start with that as the start point, is you want to build up healthy reserves. So should, and heaven forbid, but should a hurricane hit and you have a disaster, you've got the reserve sitting there that can pay the excess of 3 or 5%, whatever's in the insurance policy, that they will require to be paid before they pay out on an insurance claim. So if you're in a strata or in a home and you don't have that 3 or 5%, you will struggle to get paid out quickly, because they'll want that money coming. So you're either going to get a call on all the owners to put money in. So a well-run strata should be working towards building up that pot of gold that can sit there. Okay, so that's your game plan. With that in mind, when you start off with a new strata, how do we get to a position where we can build a pot of gold, keep it affordable, and run it economically? So it is like juggling, or it's like spinning plates, where you have to keep an eye on the expenditure to make sure every penny is spent wisely, and you have to keep an eye on what is being done to make sure the strata is maintained well, and it's all for the good of the building, because you'll have a variety of different owners who will have different requirements. So somebody might want, I don't know, let's be crazy about it. Somebody might want the paving slabs edged in gold, and some people might want it just run at the bare minimum, so they don't care if there are weeds showing, or they don't care how it's run, and if there's rubbish lying around. Everybody is different how they want to live. But that's inside their home. From the common parts point of view, what a good strata manager is about is trying to manage all those expectations, manage all those differences, to get a common delivery that keeps everybody happy. Now that is nigh on impossible, so you're settling for that average that is as good as it can be, with the mindset of how do I build that pot of gold. So consequently, in budgeting, you're trying to make sure that you are covering the costs, plus a bit, that over a sort of 3 to 5 year window, that 3 to 5% will be sitting there. And that's pretty much the game plan of a strata management.
Yeah.
All the while communicating with the residents, all the while them knowing what's going on, all the while taking them along the journey. So that's it in a nutshell.
As an owner, I would advise you to know your insurance. Make sure you have that document that states that your property is insured. I'll tell you a quick story where a friend of mine, it was just not general conversation, saw their apartment. I was like, oh, wow, this is nice. How much is your strata per month? They told me how much it was. I was like, okay, great. I was like, I just asking general questions. When last has the roof been changed or looked at, or when last has the building got a power wash or repainted, and they couldn't answer any of it for me. And it was just really bizarre. So spoke to the Strata manager because they asked me to, and just asked the same general questions. And the Strata manager got so defensive.
Really?
So defensive.
Wow.
They were like, you're drilling me right now. You need to send me an email because anything I'm telling you right now could be false. And I'm just like, who says these things, So it was really interesting. Then, as you know, I called you in.
I got stepped in.
Yeah, I was like, you deal with it, Roger.
So the gangster entered the room.
Excuse me. First of all, I'm a gangster. Don't you see this red suit?
Absolutely. No, big gangster.
You don't see this red suit?
So, anyway, back to the real world. Now that was interesting for a number of reasons because in the makeup, there was one owner held
majority of the units,
60-70% of the units, and the other owners were individuals. The owner who had owned all the units and then sold off some had been taking on dealing with the insurance and the running, but hadn't actually set up the strata operation properly. So consequently, the other owners have been trying to get it set up, but it hadn't been as it transpired.
Right.
But the insurance is way underinsured, which is why we're going to talk about insurance as a separate topic, and we'll come back to that. But the insurance is way underinsured, and the various services that she's paying for, or had been paying for, it kind of felt, where's that money going? But again, there's nothing in the pot for that 3 to 5% excess should anything happen. So hopefully
which is called the reserve.
Yeah. So hopefully now what is happening, and we'll know more over the next month or so, is that it's getting set up properly and all the things will be in place. So hopefully come the new year, that will be in a reasonably good place for them. But so budgeting wise, that's the kind of trick of what you want to be looking for. Now again, if I'm acting for you as the seller and you have a home in the strata, I want to know what's in your budget, what's in your reserve, and what's held on account, because I'm going to use that as a negotiating tactic in the sale to either improve the sale price of your property, improve the saleability of your property, or get someone to contribute the money into the reserve, because that is your money that's sitting as part of that reserve. Now, if the strata managers are good, they should be able to press a button out of their tech and give you that figure instantly. That's always the measure.
Yep. So for the new developers out there building new properties, talk to us. Our current developers that hired us are using us again for other properties that they're developing.
Always a good sign.
And we are receiving a lot more complexes that have access to Strata Management, manage it as well. So call us, reliable fees, technology, more efficient, more reliable. We just bring all the value.
Now, one of the things, we are slightly picky on strata management, I've got to be honest. So we're not going to take on schemes that are in a bad place. We'll consult to get them into a good place, but we're not about making our lives difficult. We'd be too expensive to do that for you. But what we want to offer is a value fee that gives you a good service, but we're not just going to take on any old stratas. So
it's really different if it's already built and all of the owners are not on the same boat with each other, because it makes it really hard, because you need all of the owners to kind of in sync into one. If they don't, then...
We had a fun one, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. And
so
you see my face?
We had.
We tried our best. I mean, we did everything.
It wasn't a big strata, but it'd fallen apart 5-6 years ago. It's a long time, isn't it?
It was just a mess, but for newer
developments. We thought we'd got them to a place where they would all work together, and it was going nicely, and then slowly but surely one popped out and one, it was just...
Yeah, but for the newer developments, if you want a well-structured strata company, MyRealTalk team is the way to go.
We think so.
I know so.
like it. Okay, let's lead on to insurance now, because having talked about the strata, I think the insurance naturally follows on. And
you know what I like about these topics?
What's that?
We have an interesting story for each one of them.
Do you know, I've always, somebody once turned around and said to me, the trouble with you always have a tail, whatever you're talking about.
With you?
With me. Mm-hmm. And I went, well, I can't help it. I've just been around a long time. Anyway.
He's still not old.
He's still not old. Insurance is interesting. So, at the moment, we're seeing...
Well, explain to them which insurance you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, good point. Okay, right, so let's take a step back. So, insurance, we are talking about building insurance. So, the insurance you have to cover the construction of your home, the construction of the homes on the strata, the building insurance. So that is anything happens to the outside fabric, the internal walls, the appliances, the bits that make up the fabric of the house, that is your building sum insurance. Anything that's to do with your furniture or your personal effects or anything like that, that's contents insurance, and that's completely different. We're not talking about contents insurance, we're talking about building insurance. So I'll put contents insurance down there, and we have building insurance here. So, building insurance on the island. Over the recent period, we have seen a number of things. The capacity in the market, which means the amount of insurance that is available, has been shrinking. So the number of insurers has been reducing who will offer building insurance, and the amount of insurance they're willing to offer has been reducing, is the effective answer to capacity reducing. The impact and effect of that is going to take a while to come through, but over the course of 2023, it is entirely possible that you find one of two things happening. You struggle to find building insurance, and or you find your excess, the 3 to 5% margin I was talking about during the strata piece, going up. So that could increase to 5 or 10% quite easily to cater for the way the market's going. The effect of all of those things is that the premiums are rising, which is the cost of insurance, which is the cost you're paying annually to get your insurance policy. So consequently, whilst in October we're talking about interest rates and how that's impacting on property, on the ongoing running costs, we can see insurance having an impact and an effect, certainly over 2023 and maybe beyond that. So I think it's very important that you have a very good broker, insurance broker, to work with you and to work with your strata manager, or if you own your own home without a strata, you find a very good broker or come to someone who can direct you towards a good broker, who can get you the best deal in the marketplace. Now, the best deal in the marketplace is a combination of things. It isn't just about having one insurer to provide the policy. It might be having a number of insurers who make up the framework, who make up the policy for you. It might be having to go overseas to the London market to get some of the more complicated or larger buildings. But any which way, one of the key impacts and effects over 2023 is going to be making sure that you are insured correctly, you've got insurance, and you've got the best price you possibly can. So the other bit that links in is the building sum, which is how much it costs to rebuild. If you get that wrong, the insurers will only pay out on a percentage of your losses. So let's take a crazy example. You have a block of houses that are worth 2 million building sum, so it's going to cost 2 million to rebuild them. You've only insured it for 1 million. If it comes to a disaster, the insurers would look and go, hold on, should have been insured for 2 million, you've insured it for 1 million, your claim is $500,000, we're only going to pay you 250,000 because you had it 50% underinsured. So it isn't a way of saving money, you're just kidding yourself on that route. It's a very quick way to cause yourself a problem. So in a nutshell, that's kind of insurance and where it's sitting and how it's working and where the problems sit. The answer and the simple bit to that is make sure you get good advice.
And insure your property.
Properly.
Properly.
Property properly.
I'm not doing this.
There's a tongue twister.
I'm not doing this.
But I think that's just sensible and wise for the guys.
Yeah, I think it's something everyone should definitely. It's a must-have in my opinion because if I have a house, I'm definitely insuring. If I have a condo, I want to make sure that it's insured because at the end of the day, we do live on an island, and it's a flat island, and God forbid anything does happen. But if that day does come, you want to make sure that you can get your home back in case of anything.
Yeah, I mean one of the craziest, and we sort of alluded lightheartedly to the strata that we tried to put together and couldn't. And the scary bit about that was that there were some of the owners who genuinely didn't want insurance because of the money they'd be paying out now. They were happy paying to rebuild the home should it fall down in a disaster, which is just made no sense at all.
Yeah, and then there are owners that are genuinely worried because they do want their property insured, and it just sucks because you need everyone to be on the same boat.
Which, to come back to where we started the program, that's the challenge of stratas, because you'll have different people with different aspirations and different requirements, and the good strata manager will manage all those expectations.
And that's why you got to get us in early, because when we get in there early, we are able to communicate with the new owners on how it's going to be run properly. You know, we structure it in a way where there's no issues, God forbid, with any owners. I mean, I'm not saying that few things won't pop up here and there. However, we always put it in a position where everything is structured properly and it's run according to the plan.
Yeah, I mean, it's about saying what you do and doing what you say.
Yes.
And it's about explaining to people why things are being done, taking them through the journey on what is happening and what the end game is, and having the information and records to be able to present straight away, because that's what matters to people.
Yeah.
Fast responses. And what is fascinating, this is not a Cayman thing. This is worldwide. So the consulting I do in the UK is mainly for residents where they've got bad experiences with their owners, or structuring is different with apartments in the UK. So you have leaseholds, so you have a landlord and a tenant, and the property manager is invariably instructed by the landlord. That's changing at the moment, but I won't go into that. So a lot of the flat owners, apartment owners, will come to me and say, can you help us because we can't get this, or how do we do this, or how do we sort that? And it's always about the communication, it's always about the information, it's always about the records. Everything else that they mention will be a sideshow. That's the bottom line, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. In regards to owners that are in a functioning strata, however, they feel that their strata manager they're not doing anything, you know, nothing to upgrade the property, nothing to really maintain the property, and then they're paying this monthly strata fee. What is the route those owners would have to take to then want to hire another strata company?
Right, so
are they stuck in that one?
No. So the strata will have a board, or should have a board, that will be taking the decisions. So you need to know who's on your board of your strata. They will be appointing the managing agent, or they may be doing the work themselves. There will be an AGM every year, because there has to be. So you have to do something for yourself of go to the AGM and voice what your concerns are and work out. But it's like any negotiation or any human interaction, it is about people and about personalities and about expectations and managing those. Now, if you're the neatest person on the planet and you expect every leaf to be facing the same direction, you ain't never going to get that. So you've got to moderate your expectations down to a commonality, in the same way that someone who is happy having a garden that is wild and nothing done to it needs to raise their expectations to accept that people don't want to live like that. So if you start off from that premise that everyone is going to have to compromise, up, down, sideways, whatever it might be, it's about reaching a common goal over how do we make this as effective for everybody and everybody's different expectations.
Right.
And if the managing agent isn't complying or doing what you want, then re-tender. Then you can run a tendering competition. You could bring us in to help you run a tendering competition, which we're happy doing. We can act as independent third party to that and go through a whole process. I've done an awful lot of that in the UK of re-tendering for managing agents and working out what the customer wants. The interesting bit about that is, and this is why it's easier to have a consultant to come in and do it for you, finding out the expectations and finding out what you need is the start point.
Yeah.
Because without that, you're never, ever, ever going to be satisfied on the service delivery, because whatever anybody does, you don't actually know what you want in the first place. There's a lot of analogies and other bits. It's like going to a restaurant and not knowing what food you want or how you want it cooked or anything, and then it comes up and you go, well, that's not what I wanted. But you didn't actually say what you wanted in the first place.
Right.
So it's that kind of level where you've got to know what that looks like across the range of people, the range of personalities. And if you've got a very dominant personality, then how do you get them moderated and how do you get them to be in check and be in balance? And
which you've had some.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some experiences with
Yeah,
that
yeah,
as well.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, to come back to the UK, because I'll sort of keep it away from here, because I just start off from the premise that everybody has a right to have their views and have a right to have their opinions, and they're just people.
Right.
Full stop. So in the UK, there's a job that I've had on for quite a long time now, and the main guy I've been dealing with, lovely guy, and I love him to pieces, and we get on well, and we've known each other for, crikey, 6 or 7 years now. But he is dominating, he has very fixed views, and we can have stand-up arguments.
Right.
But there's no loss of respect between each other, there's no issue between each other, because he knows I'm working for their good, I'm not trying to do anything that's against them. And in the same way that he knows he needs to be tempered, because it is about the common good of everybody and how do we make it work for him. So there's ways and means and operations to actually be able to have conversation and dialogue that gets it balanced, but you need to sort of come at it from the right direction and a caring direction, and being open and communicative. I mean, you know, it's funny, Cara. We've talked a lot. What is this now? Our 5th program we're doing? I think it is our 5th, isn't it? Wow, those 5 months have flown by. But I think it's our 5th program. But we, the common theme that comes through time and time and time again, it's about the customer, it's about communication, and it's about relationship. And if you don't start off from there and you don't care about there, whatever you do is, you may as well be selling fries in a burger van. You may as well be selling cinema tickets. And that's not disparaging to those jobs in any way, shape or form. It's just function and form.
Right.
So it's about nuance that sits within real estate. It's about communication that sits within real estate. It's about understanding that sits within real estate. It's not just about selling widgets. It's not just about selling a commodity. That's what I would say after 44 years in the industry.
Yep. Cool.
And that's why you are a superstar, because in your short time, you understand and you get it, and it's what you do.
Thank you.
It's all right.
I appreciate your support.
Bigging
always.
up the gangster there. Lit.
I like that. I like that.
You like that? I'm going to get a squeaky squeak noise again.
That's funny. But yeah, all true. And hopefully If people that do have strata issues, which I know that there's a lot going on island, reach out. We always like to say we're affordable.
Yeah.
We bring value to the table always, and
if we can't help, we're going to tell you we can't help. If we don't think we're right, we're going to say we're not right. If we think you need something else, we'll tell you need something else. We're always going to be open and honest about it.
What sets us aside from other realtors is we keep it real. Real talk.
Oh, see what you did there.
Oh, you like that, huh?
I like that.